He gets up in the morning when he feels like he's had enough sleep, so that means no alarms need to go off. He has a healthy breakfast and spends some quality time with the people in his home. His days are regularly taken up by meetings, but he hates it when they're crowded. When he returns home from work, he likes to eat unusual food for dinner, and he's always trying to help with washing the dishes. He then watches a bit of TV, Star Trek if it's on, and then he goes to bed at a reasonable time. Well, that doesn't sound very interesting for a billionaire, does it? We might also add that he spends around $1.6 million a year on security. When he's at work, his office is protected by $180,000 bulletproof panels. When he's not working, he likes to take the kids on the private jet or for an adventure in a submarine. This is, of course, not the life of a mere millionaire, it's the life of a billionaire, a famous one too. The one and only Jeff Bezos, net worth $185.1 billion. At least it was how he lived a few years ago, according to various media stories. The day-to-day life of millionaires and billionaires can of course be vastly different, even when we're not talking about security and very expensive hobbies. How an ultra-rich tech CEO and a member of the royal family live are two very different worlds. A guy who made millions as a high-ranking member of a crime family will very likely have a different routine from some kid who was born a millionaire and spends most of his time posting photos on Instagram. Saying that, there are some commonalities in how the rich live, either the ultra-rich or just a bit rich. Let's start with a billionaire lifestyle. If you're one of the top billionaires, it's highly likely that you'll have hired a 24-hour-a-day security. That means at home, when you go to the office, and while you're at the office. When it comes to security, it seems out of the tech billionaires, it's Mark Zuckerberg, net worth $96.7 billion, who spends the most. Or at least Facebook spends the cash. The last numbers we can find set his security costs in the region of $23 million per year, but his private aircraft costs another $2.95 million. So personal freedom is one of the biggest differences between the ultra-rich and the mere millionaire types. Obviously, we can't tell you everything about their security because that would mean it sucked, but some things do make it into the press. There were rumors back in 2016 that Zuckerberg planned to build 4 new houses on his compound, except one of those houses was a gigantic panic room. As for when he's at work, it's said he has what the media called a Praetorian Guard around him at all times. If someone gets funny ideas about taking the CEO down with a rugby tackle, they won't even get close to him. If that's not excessive, it's said in a conference room he has an office protected with bulletproof glass. There's a panic button too. According to rumors, and we repeat, rumors, he has a panic chute too. Where it takes him, we can't say, if it exists at all. Like many billionaires, there's an armed guard outside his personal residence at all times. If he does go out in public, where he's going will be vetted and swept before he even steps foot in the place. Obviously, he doesn't go anywhere without his highly trained entourage. That doesn't sound like much fun at all. It's almost like being imprisoned by your wealth. But what about millionaires? Maybe they can say millionaires have more fun. We guess it all depends on how many millions you have. There are 1,000 million in 1 billion. So there's a big difference between having sold a few Bitcoin and got yourself 1.2 million and someone who has 836 million. It also depends on where you live, because a few million in some countries is a fortune, and it could mean the risk of someone kidnapping your kids and asking for a ransom. Still, not all rich millionaires have round-the-clock security. Take for instance the actors Keanu Reeves and Jake Gyllenhaal, guys who like to ride the subway. The former is said to have a net worth of around $350 million and the latter $80 million. Let's just add here that net worth for celebrities changes a lot depending on the resource you're looking at. As for billionaires, their net worth changes like the wind. So what we can say at the time of this writing might be very different from when you watch the show. Yeah, we've been reading your comments about us getting net worths wrong. Many actors, in fact, don't have any fancy security detail, especially when they're doing their day-to-day stuff. When Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie were together, they had a bodyguard. Even so, they were once spotted riding on a scooter in Vietnam, not even wearing helmets. It's also said when in Asia they'd spend up to $20,000 a night on their luxurious lodgings. Many multimillionaires, you won't be surprised to hear, have personal chefs. Occasionally, those chefs kiss and tell, talking about who the fussy eaters are and what strange foods they like to eat. One personal chef said the job was fun and that he got to travel around on yachts, but he also said that he was on call all the time and generally worked 15-hour days. Another chef, who refused to say much about the people he worked with, said celebrities hardly ever leave the house. Like the billionaires, they're somewhat trapped by their status. That doesn't sound like much fun. Chef Kat Turner, who worked with a bunch of celebs, said her clients at times demanded the utmost privacy, meaning some celeb chefs have to be almost invisible. That, she said, makes the job a lonely one. It seems she at least had fun working with the Smashing Pumpkins frontman Billy Corrigan with a net worth of $60 million. She said he ate simply, and most of the food she made for him was very healthy. She said she worked hard, but he also worked 12 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week. What about your regular millionaires? Do they require bodyguards and personal chefs? A bodyguard from the UK was asked about that. He said it all depends on where you're working. A person with not many millions or even a solitary million might walk around with bodyguards in the poorest nations on earth. But in a place like England, he said you pass them in the supermarket every day and you wouldn't know that they were what he called part of the upper middle class. Consider that the average house price in West London is around $1.5 million, and being a millionaire in some of London's swanky suburbs isn't a big deal at all. There will be no personal chefs for the folks who can just call themselves a millionaire, no bodyguards, and certainly no super yacht. Just like in the US, they'll have more time than regular working folks to focus on personal growth, to enjoy hobbies, and to have time to talk in depth to their kids' teachers. They'll also strategize about what to do with their wealth. According to some experts, mere millionaires on the bottom rung of the ladder are actually very careful with their money. When 600 millionaires in the US were questioned in a survey, many of them said they spent below their means. Even though they had a big income, they weren't rich enough to go crazy with their cash. So being frugal was the way to go. Most of them didn't live in a house that was super costly in relation to their wage. There was no showing off going on. Most of them lived in a place they could comfortably afford. Many of them even managed to save around half of the pay they received each year. Put it this way, if you're a millionaire with a $250,000 a year salary, it's unlikely you'll be spending 20 grand a night on a hotel room. Nonetheless, in another survey of regular millionaires, most of the people interviewed said they didn't budget. They had enough cash to know that if they were sensible, everything was going to be okay. If you have $1 million in the bank, you don't really need to worry too much about buying a pair of Louis Vuitton shoes. Entrepreneurs who hit the millionaire mark apparently like to have side hustles. They start looking for new streams of income, and why not? They have a safety blanket. The problem with being poor or even middle class is not having enough time to get out of your situation because you're working so hard. If lower millionaires are not working on their ideas, they will likely be investing their cash in index funds or in the property market. When they're not doing that, millionaires on average spend more time exercising than the poor, or doing yoga, or going to steam baths, or taking archery lessons, or just reading books. This is how one person put it when talking to Business Insider. Successful individuals are keenly aware of how they spend their resources, including their emotional and cognitive resources. Precious time. Such a valuable resource, and the working poor often doesn't get enough of it to focus on their personal development. So with the lower end of the millionaire ladder, safety and comfort and personal development are the big luxuries. And just to give you guys some hope, in some of the surveys we read, many of the millionaires didn't do exceptionally well in school or college, and quite a few didn't even finish high school. Now, let's get back to the very rich. Okay, so not all multi-millionaires are careful with their cash. After all, they rarely have to be. It's not easy to fritter away many millions of dollars. Some have tried hard, though. Take, for instance, the movie star Johnny Depp. Reports surfaced not long ago that he was spending in the region of $30,000 a month on just wine. It's also reported that he bought a town in France that cost him $75 million. Before that acquisition, he bought a chain of islands in the Bahamas for $3.6 million. He even spent $3 million in 2005 on his friend's funeral, gonzo journalist Hunter S. Thompson. That was according to a lawsuit. Depp's lawyer argued that he only spent $2 million on blasting Thompson's ashes from a cannon. According to an article in CNBC, when he was raking in the cash, his lifestyle alone cost him $2 million a month. It's thought he's worth around $200 million now, but you could triple that not too long ago. When that lawsuit was brought against him, his monthly costs were made public, so that's how we know so much. On top of his expensive wine habit, he also spent $300,000 a month on his 40 employees. What they all did, we don't exactly know, but we're guessing Mr. Depp, unlike Mr. Bezos, didn't get dry skin from all the dishwashing he was doing. Depp spent another $150,000 a month on security and his family, and a further $200,000 a month for his private jet. In conclusion, if you want to get rid of a fortune, ask Johnny Depp. But here's the real-life story of Brewster's Millions. Wasting tons of cash is easily done, especially if you have a devil-may-care attitude such as Depp, or if you were brought up poor and never really learned how to handle cash. That happened to a 19-year-old in England after he won the lottery in 2002. His windfall was almost £10 million, which in today's money, in dollars, is about $21 million. Needless to say, he quit his job as a garbage man, a bin man, as they say in England. This teenager, who learned to read and write in prison, was turned down for a private bank account because of his colorful criminal record. He gave lots of money away to family and friends, made some bad investments, and even paid a ton of cash to fight a celebrity on TV. He was arrested not long after for being caught firing steel balls at store windows from his Mercedes-Benz. Just 5 years after the win, and a lot of houses, cars, and drugs later, he was pretty much broke. In 2010, he was back to working collecting people's garbage and said he was happier doing that. So these are just 2 examples of how people threw away their fortunes. It's not something you hear billionaires doing often. Okay, so we always hear about Bezos getting his hands dirty and how Warren Buffett religiously eats hamburgers, ice cream, and Coke. But isn't that just to make us ordinary folks think they're just like us? How do they really live? Let's look at the Russian billionaire named Roman Abramovich, net worth $14.5 billion. As we write this, the media is talking about the yacht he bought for $610 million. Just the upkeep and running of this yacht costs him $65 million a year. Many billionaires own yachts. One of them, whose name was withheld, was asked why. This was his reply: "You're going to think I'm crazy. I'll tell you why. It's because I'm OCD about toilets and germs. If I rented a yacht, I would be sharing a toilet with people that I don't know, so I purchased my own." Unlike lower millionaires, they can make the world fit to their whims. Abramovich is the owner of a Premier Division soccer team in England, too. That's another thing billionaires like to do: buy sports teams. In the aforementioned division, teams have belonged to Chinese billionaires, Thai billionaires, and billionaires from the Middle East. We're not sure about all of them, but for some, including Abramovich, watching their team play might be one of their pastimes. Not all billionaires have fancy cars, but that's because most of them don't drive around in their own cars. Elon Musk, with a net worth of $166.1 billion, has a collection of cars, including his own Teslas. But billionaires are generally not into showing off. It's more likely that millionaires will be the ones buying top-of-the-range Rolls-Royces and Bugattis. Billionaires are happier in submarines doing some kind of deep-water expedition. Do they walk around the house in the most expensive garments? Possibly, if they're royal, but it's unlikely if they're self-made rich folks. Look at Elon Musk on his 2 times on the Joe Rogan podcast. As we write this, he's the richest man in the world, but on that show he looked like he just finished a shift at Taco Bell. He also mixed the ice in his whiskey with his fingers. Billionaires don't have to act like they're rich. They've peaked already. Instead, they play their own wealth down, and this is how one writer and a friend of a billionaire put it: "When meeting with my billionaire friend in his home, he wears Nike flip-flops, worn-out jeans, and t-shirts. Once he even came downstairs to meet me featuring a fresh ketchup stain on his shirt. That doesn't mean to say on the wall of their houses they don't have incredibly expensive paintings." Next time you go around to Bill Gates' house for dinner, ask him where he hangs his $36 million painting lost on the Grand Banks. In fact, ask to see his entire collection is worth many more millions. It's said business magnate David Geffen has an art collection worth $2 billion. So don't be fooled by all the flip-flops. We're guessing no billionaires in the world hold back on luxuries all the time. Still, as one friend of a billionaire put it, they're so rich they value the normal stuff. Unlike some millionaires who hire expensive high-end chefs to cook for them, some of the ultra-rich get off on cooking as a family. That's exactly why Mr. Bezos scrapes dried macaroni off the dishes, even if they are dishes made by Versace. Now you need to watch Spend $1 Billion in 24 Hours or Lose It All challenge, or have a look at why winning the lottery is the worst thing that can happen to you.